Hey everybody, I want to talk about a product and platform that I absolutely love and our latest sponsor, Interseller, the prospecting and outreach platform of choice for recruiters and sellers. Whether you're doubling down on business development or recruiting talent, Interseller does all the heavy lifting of finding contact data, automating the email and follow-up process, and syncs all that rich data into 20 plus CRM and ATS platforms. Reach out now and get going on a 2-week free trial and let them know you heard about it from Adam on the podcast today. Check out the link on the website. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the podcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host, Adam Posner.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast, where I bring you the best and the brightest from the world of business, entrepreneurship, and just awesome-ass life stories to help you harness your own inner tenacity and drive your career forward. Folks, my guest today, Nnaka, is a keynote speaker, a therapist, an advocate for hope, and he suffered a severe injury playing for the Oklahoma Thunder semi-professional football team in 2009 that would leave permanent damage to his spinal cord. Today, Nnaka makes a powerful statement each day by continuously looking towards the positive of his situation and by serving others. And I've seen that firsthand. I'll share that story in a moment. And Nnaka has been a returning guest on the Ellen DeGeneres Show, where he was recognized for his service to the community and resilience through life's challenges. And as a speaker, coach, therapist, and advocate, Nnaka makes it his mission to inspire hope, and by doing so, invite others to live beyond the labels of their circumstances. So let's get to it. Let's dig into Nnaka's powerful story, and I'm thrilled to introduce him. Nnaka, welcome to the podcast.
So, gotta go. It's
Nnaka.
It's all good. It's all good. Like, that's a part of it. Man, glad to be here. Glad to join you, man. Let's jump in, because I've been excited to do this.
Let's do this. But first and foremost, we were just talking about this weekend. We're recording this on the 24th of January. This will probably air in about 4 weeks from now. And I want to talk about this weekend of football, man. This was, in my opinion, we were just saying it, the most ridiculous. This is what the sport's all about, right? Like, all right, let's talk about you're a pro, right? You're an athlete, man. Mm-hmm. You're a football player. Tell us from your perspective what this weekend meant to you when you were watching.
What the craziest thing is, again, by the time this comes out, we'll have a Super Bowl champion. And yet we will still be talking about this weekend that was, because again, this probably was the greatest playoff weekend, football weekend that we've ever had. We have 4 games that all went down to the wire. 4 games in which the kicker either walked off, kicked, or kicked to get into overtime. Last night's game, we saw arguably the future. Not arguably, we saw the future of the sport go battle just between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. They went down to the wire.
They scored like 30 points in 2 minutes. That was.
2 minutes.
I mean, that was a shootout. That was a gunslinger shootout for the ages, right? Like, that was heart-stopping.
One of my takeaways, Josh Allen has a rocket.
That bomb to Davis, 4 touchdowns to Davis. Come on, man, dude. All right, so let's call it right here. Next week, who's winning next week? Let's take your predictions for next week, and let's take the Super Bowl, and we're going to come back to the show and see if you're right.
My prediction is that the Rams will beat the 49ers. Oh, it's hard. It's hard to pick against Patrick Mahomes. It's hard to say that the Chiefs won't get back to the Super Bowl. And so I'm going to say it's the Rams, Chiefs, because I'm a Georgia Bulldog and I really I want Matthew Stafford to kind of have his right. I'm going to pick the Rams to do some things in the Super Bowl
on home turf. That hasn't has that happened? Has that happened? I don't even know.
Last year.
It was last year.
That was first time. First time it happened. So I'm going to say that for the first time it repeats. It repeats, and the Rams.
All right. So we're gonna take that prediction here. So let's get to it here, and I want to talk about how we first met. So I met Emeka at Breakout Newark, and it was October of this past year at this pretty cool event. And I'm standing there with my good buddy Chris Adamo, and Emeka rolls in, and I go, what's up with that guy? And Chris is like, what do you mean? You asking about why he's in a wheelchair? No. That smile, man. contagious, radiant smile. And Chris looks over at me and goes, dude, he's the man. Go get to know him. And that's exactly what happened. But the part that really got me, dude, do you remember we rolled into that club on the first night?
Bruh, I'll never forget because that was someone's apartment. That was someone's apartment, wasn't it?
The club.
Oh, the club. Oh. I'll never forget because, we came in as a group. I think I came in with old girl riding on the back of my chair. Oh. It was something. There are times I still look at the videos. I'm like, yo, dude, it was wild.
And we're talking like peak COVID. We're talking, we don't give a shit. We're just all happy. We
don't give a shit. We ain't seen our people. We haven't seen our people in so long. Everyone's vaccinated. It was like, hey, we're about to have a good time.
Side note on that.
That was so fun.
And I told my wife about it the next day. She goes, why the hell did you do that? Like, you put yourself at risk. Why'd you? I go, you know what? It didn't matter. We're living, right? We're living. We're happy. We're in the moment. We're all vibing. We're all together. We're all having a good time there. And guess what? I tested negative. I don't think anyone tested positive from that whole weekend.
No one tested, no, from the whole
Shocker.
Yeah.
Shocker. So it's crazy. So let's get into it here. And anybody that could go back, you could Google Nnaka. You could see his crazy interviews. You could see what he's done on the Ellen Show. And you talk a lot about your injury. And people could go back and really understand that story and what happened to you. But tell us a little bit about, beforehand. Who was Emeka beforehand? Are you still that same dude?
Man, that's such a great question. And I think that I'm having this conversation with you purposely at this particular time in my life because that is something that I am working on right now, is to make sure I get back in touch with who I am and who we are is like, our growth pattern is like a song, right? It's like, you start off with maybe a little beat, and then you add a little, little violin, you add some guitar, you add some things along your life, and then you have a song that your life plays. For me, man, like I have always been the guy, like the smile, the positive outlook. I've always been that. I've always had a zeal for life. I think I got even much more of one after my injury because when you teeter on the edge of life and death, when you think about death really makes you think about life. And I'll get deeper into that. But to answer the question of who I was before, I'll tell you, I was a kid that when I was in college, the guy that you saw roll into that club, that basically is me to the core.
It was great.
So I'm a guy, I love to have fun. I enjoy good time. I enjoy people. I've just always loved people. And so I think one of my main values has always been to, care for people. And so growing up, I would be the guy that would go into people's classes, even though I wasn't in the class, just for a good time.
Just for a good time.
Just for a good time. But then, it gets you in trouble because the thing is, if you find yourself involved in different groups, you don't necessarily make decisions based off of logic. You kind of just make decisions based off of impulse, what feels good.
Life, man.
So when I was growing up, I had great friends. I had great friends growing up. But not always found myself in great positions. And it wasn't that I was someone that would, be the guy that makes us all go out and do something reckless. But I definitely wasn't. Definitely wasn't the guy. That
you didn't shy away. You didn't shy away from a good time. So I think it's important because a lot of folks don't know this story, and as much as you want to get into, just to bring my audience up to speed, let's take it back a little bit. Just set the table of what happened.
Okay, so let me go back and tell you that I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I moved here from Georgia. I was a kid that was in college, and college wasn't really working out. I got an opportunity to join a semi-pro football team, and for me, that was like this new opportunity, a new door for me to make my parents proud and just kind of do something with my life because school wasn't it. School definitely wasn't it at the time. And so I'm playing And if you're a kid and you grow up, every kid wants to be a professional athlete, or a lot of kids want to be a professional athlete. And when you achieve it, it's like, yo, this is ultimate. I get to, I'm playing a game that I love. I'm good at what I do, and people are cheering. Like, I love it. Best shape of my life. And so I won a championship in 1 year with this team. And I was going to do this, second year we were primed to repeat, and tragedy strikes, midway through the season. I make a tackle in a game that a tackle I've made 100 times, and I go down, I make this tackle, and I break my neck. And I'm on the field, and I'm just not knowing what's happening. I get rushed to the hospital where they were doing 9-hour neck surgery, and they would inform me that not only I broke my neck, but I've suffered a spinal cord injury, and I was paralyzed from my chest down.
Well, pause there for a hot second. When they, how lucid were you when they told you that news?
Bro, I was lucid for I can go through every single detail from accident to surgery because I was present for every bit of it.
I mean, I can't.
The craziest thing was like when I was on the field and they're holding my foot up, and I'm like, okay, I'm looking at my foot, but I can't feel like it was such a surreal thing because I'm looking at it and it's like, okay, that's attached to me, but I can't feel it. And yeah, man. So then I get to the hospital and then they're drilling everything off from my helmet to my jersey, cut everything. They cut my socks off. Then the MRI machine. And so then I remember waking up the next morning. I remember them wheeling me into surgery. And then I took what seemed like a minute nap. I closed my eyes and then I woke up and they told me that it had been 9 hours and that they, cut the back of my neck and put in a metal cage back there. And so the hardest part was them coming into my room and telling me like, okay, you're paralyzed. And okay, we're going to get you to go back to, they're going to start this rehab. And bro, it's hard because
it's the opposite of everything in your life that you've known so far. And I can't.
Absolutely.
I mean, your family, friends by your side. I mean, how
it is a devastating diagnosis, and what people don't understand is that it's not just my adjustment. It's like, oh, okay, you got this news, so Emeka is trying to figure this thing out. It's like, no, like I'm adjusting to my injury. I've got my family that's adjusting to my injury, my friends. I'm adjusting to the world. What's my place? How do I see the world now?
Question everything.
Like all of it. And it's on top of that, is the existential questions that I'm asking and answering. At the meanwhile, everything immediate with my body. And that is the hardest. That's the hardest thing because it's one of those things that I didn't realize at the time though. It's one of those things that doesn't stop. It's like it's an ongoing
and it's been a while. It's taken you a long time to get your body to the point where it is now through hard work, training, rehab, to the point where you could use your body the way you do now.
Bruh, man, to be honest, it's been hard because it's like you go a certain span, you work hard, and I'm still dealing with issues that are outside of my control that is like, okay, well now I've got to fight. Like the fight don't stop. And sometimes that's hard because when you're I like to use the analogy of like being in a boxing match. Like life is like a boxing match with no referee. Okay. You think that, you're going to take a punch and if you respond well to one punch, that's it. But it's not.
They keep coming.
There's no referee.
No one's going to call the fight.
Life is going to keep punching. Like if you get knocked down, sure. If you stay down, life is going to keep punching till you die. Like you got to get back and you got to keep fighting. And that's one of those things. It's like you get knocked down, you get back up, you get knocked down, you get back up. And then sometimes you get knocked down. Sometimes you just kind of stay there for a little bit.
So
like,
let's talk about those moments when you felt like staying down, when you didn't want to get up, when you had those deep, dark thoughts. I mean, listen, I've interviewed, military veterans, quadruple amputees. I've interviewed people at their worst, and I can never even think about those dark times, and how, dude, the treasure's in the shit pit, man. The treasure's when at your lowest. If you don't mind, take us to some of those moments and how'd you pull yourself up?
Man, can I be honest? I feel like I'm in one of those moments now. It's been 13 years since my accident, okay? And when, honestly, there were the darkest times early was in just the not knowing what my future was going to be.
The unknown.
And it's not only that, it was just like, okay, I went from being, this 250-pound football player, a
specimen,
strong individual, to now I can barely lift my hand over my head. And then it's like, where does my physical strength, like where I lack in physical strength, can I manufacture that in character strength? Can I manufacture that in spiritual strength? And it's crazy because that was something that wasn't planned. It's like, you just take it one day, 1 hour, 1 minute at a time. There were days that I woke up and it's like, I do not want to do this. And it's not one of those things. It's like, okay, I wake up and I don't want to live. It's just like, I wake up and I don't want to
push yourself.
Live. It's not that I want to die. I just don't want to do anything. I just want to wake up and then tomorrow be here so that I can close my eyes and tomorrow be here again. I just want to fast forward, and there's no fast forward button.
Did you?
And so, man, one of the hard times too, man, is just relationships. Losing friends at a time that was, arguably my hardest time, and not having the support there that, it's not even that I didn't have support, because, my dad was there, my family was there. I had some friends that
the real ones.
The real ones. But then you have the ones that leave, and that's where your focus goes.
Why? What's wrong with them?
And then you assign a meaning to that. It's like, okay, if they leave, then that means that I'm not lovable.
So you blamed yourself. For them leaving, and not at the time thinking about maybe it's their character, maybe it's on them for leaving, that they're not strong and they're not real friends. And synthesizing that in your head the whole time when you're going through this unfathomable situation. Irreversible.
Because at your bottom, you're not seeing clearly. You know what I mean? And so everything gets filtered through this shame lens, where it's all my fault. Bro, when I tell you the times in which I had to ask myself the question of, did I bring this on myself? So many nights I would think about every good deed that I could remember.
So was it a why me? Was it a why me?
And then every bad deed that I could remember doing, and trying to figure out, okay, God, am I being punished right now? What is happening? Those are the dark times that we don't talk about. And those are dark times that sometimes I forget to talk about, because it was all in here. It was all in here.
How'd you start to pull yourself out of this? In the right direction. Listen, every day has got to be tough. Every day has their challenges. You're not all sunshines and rainbow all day.
No. Man, when I so I close my eyes so I want to take myself back there. But the hardest things were just again, not knowing if I could ever provide for my family, or if I could ever provide for myself, or if I die, is this it? You know, what is left to be said about Nnaka is what? I, fucked up in school. I had different, I had some good times, I had some bad times, but is this where it ends? And to be honest, man, for me, when I was at home, those like that in the beginning stages of my evolution, it felt like the walls were closing in on me, where it was like, okay, body doesn't feel well. Again, from an existential aspect, I'm not doing anything. I'm stuck at home. I forgot to mention that the area that I lived in the aftermath of my injury was like very, very rough neighborhood.
It wasn't very user-friendly to your current situation. Let's call it that. Yeah.
At all. No sidewalks.
Fuck, it's like, shit. How much more could you throw at me, life?
I'm thankful for the people that showed up in these moments that kind of got me to get by that next moment. You know what I mean? Like whether it was the random friend that I made that was a friend for a season, that okay, I think of this girl that I met at my rehabilitation clinic, and we became friends. And so she would come over, and we would just chill, watch a movie, watch a show. And this came at a time where
you needed that companionship.
I needed it. And then whenever our time expired, there would be the random person that I met, and we would do the same thing. And it was these moments of connection that really got me through, that got me here, And I bring her, that first person I bring up because it's crazy. I just saw her again 3 days ago, and it's the first time that we have been around each other in...
What was that like?
What, 11 years?
I mean, did you leave on bad terms, or the relationship kind of went its course? Yeah.
No, it just,
people grow apart, you move on. Yep.
You went on,
Was the connection still there?
Oh, absolutely. That's the homie. But there's so many people that are like that in my life, where I kind of just surrendered the fact that my story is not one of just me picking myself up by the bootstraps, but it's one of me having people that showed up to fill a gap when it felt like there was it felt like there's a void there. And it's just so important that if there's a message that I want to get out there, is that community is everything. You know what I mean? What is life if it's not done with people? And so to answer your question about what got me out of this dark hole, man, I got injured June 6, 2009. The worst thing that's ever happened to me. By November of 2009, I was in a very dark place. Entering that new year, it's a new year. Just like right now, we're in a new year, and it's like, okay, we start the new year with hope, and we start the new year with, what am I going to do, to be better, to do X, Y, Z. Can you imagine what the new year was like, coming off of such a devastating injury and having no idea of what to plan, how to plan? I couldn't even think about that. And so, by March 2010, the craziest thing is I had a friend of mine that, ironically, he's the guy that introduced me to the football team, but he worked at a church for a youth group, and him and I would watch Monday Night Football. Like
that was your thing.
That fall, that was my first. That fall was an interesting fall because again, I got hurt playing football, so he would ask me like, "Hey, are you okay watching football?"
Was that hard?
And it was tough. At first it was because
it was in front of your face, man.
For all reasons.
It was in front of your face, right? You're right, like you're watching football and your dream is in front of your face. I mean, I can't even imagine that. How'd you synthesize that? How'd you turn that around? I'm sure you still have those moments, right? Like you're watching the games this weekend. Of course you do. You're fucking human.
I still have the moments. But you know what? The craziest thing is that it is never, the game doesn't get me. The game does not get me because as I watch football, I am a fan of football. And so I can watch the game and just appreciate the game for what it is. But you know what gets me? When the camera pans to the sidelines and you got your teammates just shooting the shit, or it's pregame. Like it's hard for me to watch pregame and postgame stuff. Like those. So it's weird because it's not weird, but pregame and postgame are really hard because when I see the camaraderie, that is what sports is all about. Like if you've played sports,
no one gets it unless they've been there.
The competitiveness.
No one gets it unless they've been there.
Right. Like it's about competitive. It's about winning, but it's about winning like with the people that you sacrifice with. Even if you're in an individual sport, like you'll notice that like if someone that wins a tennis match or golf, everyone knows it's an individual sport, but it's not an individual sport. It's your trainers, it's your coaches, it's the people that have sweat bled with you, that the people that believed in you in moments that you didn't believe in yourself. Those are the people that you win for. And so it's like it all comes full circle. And so pre-game, post-games are always hard for me because it's like, damn.
Hey, everybody. First, I'd like to thank you all for spending time with me and my guest on the podcast. This show is my canvas to showcase amazing people from the world of recruiting, entrepreneurship, and leadership, and unpack their career journeys for everyone to learn from. But this show is also a business generator for me, as well as creating thought leadership and endless amazing content. And I've taken what I've learned in the past 3 years and over 200 recorded and 100 live shows and distilled it down into a digital playbook that I call the Pause Course. Now you could learn how I build, manage, and produce the podcast and use it to drive real business development and relationships. Today, I'm sharing all of my secrets behind the podcast, and you can get it all at thepausecourse.com. This course is for anyone, whether you're starting out or an advanced podcaster, you're using it for B2B and B2C. It's filled with all of my insights, learnings, tips, tricks, and templates. So get it now at thepausecourse.com and learn all my secrets. Thanks. Do you remember that first ray of sunshine? Do you remember that first moment when you're like, listen, I'm not going to be able to change physically what happened to me, but I love life. I love people, and I don't want to give up on this. Was there that first moment of sunshine, positivity in this new phase in your life that you're like, all right, let's do this?
When you're dealing with something that is physical, it's like a storm that's happening. Like I'm a walking hurricane, like that no one sees. No one sees what's happening internally. No one, and my smile can cover everything. No one knows the pain that like is constantly endured. And so it's a matter of calming that storm almost before approaching the outer storm. And that was hard because and sometimes a lot of people are able to just, you just kind of deal with it and you just kind of move with it. So can I use an analogy? And I don't know if you're a Marvel fan. but it's like the Incredible Hulk. Okay, I've used the Incredible Hulk so much for anger, but I can use it this way as well. So it's like in the beginning, you see Bruce Banner, where it's like you got Hulk, you got Bruce Banner, and then you see kind of an evolution of like, okay, he kind of is managing, because he says in one movie, he's like, my secret is that I'm always angry. Like, I'm just always angry. That's how I managed to keep him here, and like they're here together. And then in the last movie, kind of figures out how to use it all. Same thing where it's like, in the beginning, it's like, I'm either in pain or I'm not in pain. Then I recognize, like, look, the pain ain't going away. I'm just going to
change it.
Like, the physical stuff is just here. Like, I'm not standing up to be 6'5". My hands are not going to be, I'm not going to use my hands to raise. Like, it is what it is. Let's just do something with it. I think that moment came for me when I started to volunteer at the youth group, because as someone that is motivated by a level of significance where it's like, I'm not motivated by money. What I do, and I want to make sure that when I do something that it's meaningful to the people around me. So my first time, this guy invited me to go to the church, and the first day that I show up, I'm talking to some kids, and they're asking me questions about everything. And I've always been someone that I enjoy human interaction, and so I see things that's not always just there. And there was something that I saw in some of these kids' eyes where it's like, oh, you're getting something from me that I don't even know what I'm getting. How
powerful is that, right?
And it was enough not only to compel me to keep showing up, but there was a fuel that was being, I mean, you got to think about this.
A new purpose.
I'm coming from sheer triple darkness. I don't see myself. I'm not doing anything. All it is darkness. And all of a sudden, okay, there's something to wake up and do. And there are worse things to wake up and do than going and serving in a youth group.
Helping redefine your purpose. Helping redefine your purpose. So let's shift gears a little bit here. And I want to talk about going back to school. Why was it so important for you in your journey? And why did you choose human relations? I mean, now we know why you chose human relations. I think we kind of just answered that, right? Like, you are human-centric to the core. I don't want to go far as say people person, but you thrive on that, and you thrive on community. And that's, again, what's so amazing about Breakout. It's a real community. Tell us about going back to school.
Man, so I think that this particular timeline in my life is probably the most beautiful part of my story, because I talk about hope a lot. I studied hope in my master's degree program. I've talked about how people model hope for other people. And I want to say that hope, like, let me just drop the thing and say hope is made up of three things: goals, pathways, and belief that you can accomplish those things. And to me, the area of belief is not just one that's intrinsic, but I do believe that it can be extrinsic, because, again, there's a reason why we have people in our lives that believe in us in times when we don't believe in ourselves. Remember that moment? Remember when I just mentioned that when I showed up at this youth group the first day, just in having a simple conversation, I can tell that someone is getting something from me that I don't even recognize what I'm giving. Okay. Early, it was just enough to get me to just show up. Like, let me come and do this. And as you're trying to grow, 1 year turned into 2, and then it's like deciding, like, okay, well, you know what? Let me get involved. Let me do some things. So I started leading small groups and boys groups, and then I used to have on Sunday nights, I used to have these like these groups that I was responsible for. You know, I talked to the boys for an hour, and I used to call her. You know, we talked about wisdom and stuff like that. And then soon enough, the girls started
why are we getting that?
It's like, yo, we want to be a part of what he got going. Like so then I started doing co-ed groups. And the kids would say, like, yo, you know, Mr. like Mecca, you're good at, like, you help us. You should be like a counselor. You should, you know, you're good. And so the craziest thing was that when I started, I remember the first cohort of like sophomores and juniors and seniors that I had in my way. You know, and I'm showing up at their graduations and then telling them about going to college. And I'm seeing them going to college and I'm seeing them. Beautiful. And it's crazy because I'm like, okay, well, I'm talking to them about school. Why not me go to school? And to be honest, I had no desire to go back to school. I failed. I was on academic probation. I flunked. It
was never on your radar, man. It was never on your radar. No.
Now I make, so, no, not at all. Not at all. I didn't know. I didn't have anything on my radar, but school wasn't on there. And again, someone tells me I should be a counselor. I get an opportunity to meet with a school, and honestly, I had doors that opened up for me that when I talk about like hope being goals, pathways, and belief. The pathway part, huge, because we've all heard where there's a will, there's a way. We all know what that means. It means if I want to get on the other side of this door, I got enough willpower to break it down and do whatever it is to get on the other side. What people don't understand is that according with the hope theory, there's also the opposite side of that coin where there's a way, there's a will, which is the important part of which is why it's important for us to seek to break down barriers to allow people the opportunity to walk through open doors, because I did not have enough willpower to break down barriers to go to school. But I had just enough will to walk through an open door. And so school was presented to me because I got an opportunity to get a scholarship through my first year. And so it was like, okay, well, I will, I can do this.
Right. The barriers were lowered. The barriers were lowered.
I had enough motivation. Yeah.
Right.
Barriers were lowered. And now I'm motivated because I'm giving back to the kids. And now I want to be good for them. Like, I want to be a model of hope that they have been for me.
What I'm hearing here, man, is a realignment on direction and purpose. Something that you probably never even thought about pre-injury. How did that empower you moving forward? Now you have direction and purpose, and you're learning how to live with this new exoskeleton around you. First of all, side note, by the way, if anyone sees this dude, his wheelchair is badass, man. His wheelchair is like Voltron. That shit is no joke, by the way. We could talk about that. That's got to be a big plus for you, man. That's got to make your life a bit easier.
It is. Man, that is crazy because my hope story, my purpose story, it comes out of this darkness from losing it, and how does one rediscover purpose? How does one find hope? I mean, I think that's a question that a lot of us are all looking for.
One of the deepest.
And I can tell you that for me, my purpose, I think purpose for all of us is going to always be found in other people. It's going to always be found in the service of others.
Love it.
Because when we talk about the meaning of life, life doesn't come down to how much I can do for myself. It never does. No one is on their deathbed and says, "Dang, I wish I would have acquired more."
You're not going to be buried with your money, right?
It's going to always be rooted.
You're not going to be buried with your money.
No, right. Like, and no one, yeah. And if anyone is talking about having more money, They're only talking about having more money because they want to do more with it for other people. And so I would say that when we lose sight, when we lose hope, losing hope causes us, or I'll say this. When we have adversity, adversity causes us to lose sight of what we do and why we do it. Okay. And I think that's all of us. I mean, I'm in that moment right now because I have had some recent adversity with my body, with my health, that has caused me to lose focus of what I do and why I do it. I am literally in a moment where I'm trying to do what I have done before. Like that's the craziest thing, is that life is this up and down. We don't just fight a battle once and that's the end all be all. We're in a constant state of fight. And we forget that sometimes, you know? Heck, I am the hope guy. I am the optimistic guy, and I have forgotten that. That's why I'm very glad to have this conversation, because I am real life working through it in real time.
Every day here, man. And listen, you are a beacon of positivity. I want to bring it home here, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Ellen. What is she like off camera?
Man, you know,
last season, by the way,
I don't know.
You don't know enough to make it. Yeah.
So for those that don't know, I found myself on the Ellen Show through a series of unfortunate events. It's funny because we're talking about me going through a devastating injury that changed my life forever. Me fighting my way back from the ashes, going to school. I fundraised and I got a handicap accessible van that allowed me to get mobility back into having an independent life. Started working with kids, got my undergrad degree, got my master's degree. And as I'm telling you guys right now that life don't stop, it doesn't, because in 2018, coming off what should be the best time of my life, now that I've rebuilt myself, I'm a positive force in my community. Everyone knows me. I graduated with my master's degree. I'm about to start my career as a counselor. The craziest thing happens. I'm coming home one day and driving a little bit too fast, crashed my vehicle into a curb, not a wall, not a tree. I hit a curb, curb checked. Because of how low my vehicle is, curb damages my car, they total it out. My vehicle cost $85,000. That was a gut punch. 2 weeks after that, my dad, who helps me get up out of bed, falls, breaks his ankle. Now he's down for the count. I need to rely on other friends and people.
Let's not forget the fire. Let's talk about the fire in the building, man. Let's throw that shit onto it.
2 weeks after that, my apartment complex catches on fire and lose.
Were you like, come on, God, what else could you throw at me? What else could you throw at me, man?
Again, we're talking about vehicle loss, caregiver loss, apartment loss, all within 30 days. And at that moment, you just laugh it off. Honestly, the night of the fire, I was just like, come on, funny.
It's got to be a joke, right? Come on.
And so the thing that I held on to was like, you know what? I've gone through hard things before. I can get through hard things now. And that was my mentality. That was my rallying cry. And at the same time, it was like, I'm being buried right now with all this shit.
Curse away, man. This is my show.
The question was, okay, at this moment, I got to ask myself, am I being buried by all this dirt, or am I being planted by all this dirt? And that shift in mentality kind of decided it draws some things out of you. Because if you decide that you're being buried, then it goes back to being knocked down by life and just staying down. Like if you're buried, that's it. There's nothing else to do. But if you're planted, that means that you got to dig deep inside of you and bring some things out that you ain't seen up until this point. It's the pressure that is now causing you to grow and evolve.
That's deep.
I'm
deep.
talking to myself right now.
So Ellen came at the right time. Yeah, she helped you out big time.
So I got on the Ellen show. She awarded me, her and Cheerios awarded me with $100,000. I was then able to buy a new van with that. My van cost $110,000. These vans are super expensive. And then after that, when I came back to Tulsa, Habitat for Humanity reached out and they built me a accessible home that I'm sitting in now. And so my life I was climbing and took a very crazy dip and then a very big boost up that now changed my floor. You know, again, we're all just trying to live life and raise our floors and reach, you know, hopefully we don't have ceilings. We're just trying to get, you know, higher and higher, but we're raising our floors. And my floor raised after all of the craziness of 2018.
So what's on the horizon? Let's bring it home here, man. What's on the horizon? What are some of the goals that you have professionally, personally, in the next few years of your life?
Man, I think that one, I'm gonna have to come back on the show because I'm in the process right now of figuring that out. Okay, I think that I am back in the same time, the same way that I explained those dark times right in the aftermath of my injury. I'm kind of in that same mental space right now. My externals are very different than that because again, I'm in the most stable position that I've ever been in ever. You know, I've got a career, I've got a home, I've got my vehicle, I've got community. But I think that right now I'm in a place where I have not sat down to figure out what my new goals are because I have accomplished a lot up to this point, but sometimes I've got to think more and spend more time getting to know me because I feel like in the aftermath of that initial injury, there's a persona that was created that got me up to this point, but I don't know if that person is true of who I am. COVID changed everything.
Fucking COVID.
Think that had 2020 not happened, I think that I would still be extremely busy. Not that I'm not busy now, but I think I'd be on this hamster wheel of go, go, go. And when we shut down, it really, I think that pause is like really still affecting me now because I'm like, I don't want to start doing something that I don't want to be doing. That's not true to me. I don't want to be doing things just because I feel like I'm supposed to because I put on a character to help me survive a particular time of my life. You know, volunteering with the youth. Kids. I work with kids. You know, I speak. I'm a counselor for kids.
You got to get back with them.
I volunteer at a shelter. I work with kids, but I'm now just trying to figure out what's true of me for the next couple stages.
And that's an evolution, right? That's an evolution, and you're going to get there, and you have all the support around you here. So let's bring this home here, Nnaka. What is the single greatest piece of advice you've ever received that you repeat every single day? It could be a mantra, something that you truly, embrace.
Hold on, let me think. One of the greatest single pieces of advice that I was given was right before I decided to go to school for my master's degree. I was in Oklahoma City at a convention, and it was on my mind. Like I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to go back for my master's. And I met this guy, random guy, and he had gotten his master's. And he told me that I needed to do it because all that it is a test of endurance. That even when I get to a certain place in life, it's not that my master's degree is going to give me all this crazy new knowledge or anything like that, but it's going to give me, he said that it'll give you credibility because other people that are sitting at the table know that you've been through what they've been through to sit at this table, that you've gone through. It's just a test of endurance. I cannot tell you how much I repeated that throughout my time at school because I hate writing papers. And it was just like, okay, it's just a test of endurance. You just got to outlast it. Just hold on. And so even now, as I'm going through some of the physical things that I mentioned earlier, some of the existential questions that I'm asking myself right now, what just comes up for me is like, yo, calm down. It's still life. It's just a test of endurance. Life. Hold on. This too shall
life
pass.
Life is a test of endurance. And Nnaka, last but not least, man, you've been through more than almost anybody, right? You've been in the darkest, worst places, and unfortunately, sometimes you have those bad days. On the flip side of that, man, you are a beacon of positivity and hope, and you found your purpose and your direction to give back to others. What keeps you in focus? What keeps you on the right path? Nnaka, what is your North Star in life?
Whew, man, my North Star, honestly, is people. Like, I can't stress, and I know that I'm saying it because I'm a people person. And that's fine because I'm a people person. And so when you find out those things that drive you or that are important to you, you have to leverage that. And so, even when I show up, when I show up when I wake up and I approach today, the thing that I want to make sure that I do in every given encounter is to make sure that I am not the reason why someone, actually, I'll say it like this. I show up understanding that there is power in my presence. There's power in my words, and there's always a chance for me to make someone else's day or life. You never know what moment you have in a person's life that ends up being the cataclysmic thing that changes the direction of their life. I just gave you a piece of advice that this random guy gave me in Oklahoma City 5 years ago. And that guy probably doesn't think to himself that, oh, I gave this guy Nnaka some advice that now changed his life. He's not thinking about that. But he showed up and all he did was show up in his moment. I feel like we all get to show up in our moment, and that for me is what drives me, is to help me remain. Even when I'm having my worst days, it's like, hey, just show up in the moment.
Nnaka, first and foremost, man, I am honored to be connected with you, to get to know you. I'm excited to continue to build our relationship. I hope we get Breakout going again soon. I heard some rumors. We'll see what's happening, right? Get us on a plane going somewhere to do it again together. You're a shining example of overcoming adversity and pushing through and making every day count and having a real clear defined purpose. And any way that I could support you, I'm here for you, man. Whatever you need. Seriously, I know we're just getting to know each other, but I'm here. Feel free to reach out anytime. Happy to spread your word of positivity, anything I could do. Where could folks connect with you? Where could they learn? Where could they find more?
Hey, I am Emeka Nnaka on most platforms, on Instagram, Twitter. I have a podcast that I do with a friend of mine called the Black Sheep Pod. And I also have a YouTube channel called From Where I Sit. Haven't posted a lot of videos on there, but I'm hoping to make a re-return with my own personal podcast. So right now, also livebeyondlabels.com will redirect to emekannaka.com. That is my brand, because I do believe that I'm trying to use hope to inspire people to live beyond the labels of their circumstances. We all have things happening to us, and we can all choose to live beyond those labels.
Live beyond your labels. Nnaka, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Hang with me for one moment here as we sign off. I want to thank everybody for spending time with us on this special episode. It really means a lot that you have committed to joining us and enjoying this conversation. I hope you learned a lot from Emeka. I hope you connect with him. Remember, sharing means caring. If you like this episode, share it, leave a review, a rating. It goes a long way. You know where to find out more at thepodcast.com and all of our social media channels. Remember, take care of each other, look out for one another, and catch us next week for another great episode of the podcast. Take care, everybody.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search the podcast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thepodcast.com.